else on there.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Roy's Tie-Dye Sci-Fi Corner. This is episode number 257, and I want to welcome everybody because this is going to be a very special episode because we are welcoming some very special guests. My first guest, we are going to be celebrating his belated 99th birthday, which took place on February 16th. He is an actor, and he is the one and only friend of the show, Mr. David Frankham. David, welcome. And I also want to welcome an actor as well as a musical composer. And this is also another friend of the show, Jonathan David DIXON. Welcome, Jonathan and David.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi there, Ross.
Hello.
And I also as always want to welcome my friend, my co-host of almost 5 years, the one and only Mr. Ross Amico.
Hooray!
Thank you.
So we had people leaving comments. Dave Rash is here, David.
Oh, Dave.
Look at the books in the background, Dave.
Hi, Dave.
Michelle, we met her in Ticonderoga.
Michelle, hi.
John and Sue. Sue, look in the background as well.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
It's great to see everybody out there. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And also want to say hi to Vince that's joining us also. He's joining us from Stewartsville. Dave, it's great to see you out there as well, too. I know you're joining us in Florida, as well as Michelle is joining us in Connecticut. And Don Bethman is joining us from Delaware. Welcome, Don.
Welcome, Don.
Sue, of course, is joining us from Massachusetts. Welcome, Sue.
Hi, Sue.
Linda is joining us from Canada. And she's saying, yay, my favorite tie-dye sci-fi corner guest has returned. Happy birthday, Mr. Frankham.
Thank you, Linda.
And Jeff Rubel is joining us, and he's joining us from Utah. Welcome, Jeff.
Welcome.
And Lou is joining us from Rhode Island. Welcome, Lou.
Hello, Lou.
And Sue's saying she sees the Boston Lobster back there.
Yes.
And May is joining us from Canada. Welcome, May. Great to see you out there.
May.
Saying happy birthday. Also, Deborah is joining us. She's joining us from Lopakong. Welcome, Deborah. Good to see you out there as well.
Yes.
And Edwin is joining us, and he's saying happy belated birthday, David, from Edwin and Rachel.
Oh, thank you both.
And Sue is saying happy belated birthday, David. You don't look a day over 25.
Oh.
So again, welcome everybody, and thank you for being here for this very special episode. We were going to do this back in February to try to celebrate on David's actual birthday, which was the 16th. But unfortunately, some things kind of came up with myself, and we were forced to delay and everything just because of the surgery. But I am so happy that we could be here now to also do this special belated celebration.
Speaking of which, though, how do you feel? How are you now?
I'm doing good, David. I'm a bit sore in the chest. I'm taking my medication. I'm doing a lot of walking. I've been walking on the average of probably about 2.5 to 3 miles a day, splitting it up in the morning and the afternoon. But overall, when I think of where I was like 5 weeks ago when I had the surgery, where I pretty much could hardly move and get around, I've really come a long way. It's just the pain of dealing with the soreness on a daily basis. But it's starting to get better. I started rehab today, and I'll be doing that for like the next 6 weeks as well too.
You'll get there.
No, I appreciate you asking. And Jonathan, I know you had your health issues last year as well too.
The heart surgery twins.
Yeah, everything that you went through. So I mean, and it's been great to be able to relate with you and share your journey and everything. So which I very much appreciate.
You're a brave man, Roy.
Thank you, David. I see Neil is joining us. He's saying a very wonderful, happy belated birthday to the wonderful actor David Frankham.
Hello.
And Deborah's also saying happy belated birthday as well, too, David.
Okay.
Where's the cake?
Yeah, where is the cake?
Martin is joining us from New York. Just want to welcome Martin as well, too. He's saying
Hi.
So, David, how have you been? The time just goes so quickly. I mean, the last time you were on the show was last year, and how have you been doing? How's everything been going with you? And how are you doing, Jonathan? I just want to catch up and have everybody get caught up in regards to everything.
I must say, for me, life is very dull now. At 99, you realize you're not going to be cast too often in anything anymore. So, in a way, it's a very peaceful retirement. But I'm always glad to hear somebody say, well, maybe we'll have you on the show, as you have done. And that keeps me going, you see. Otherwise, I think life is pretty routine. I don't mind saying that I have prostate cancer, but I have this miracle injection every 4 months that has reduced the cancer to practically nothing. And I've been told I will not die from it. So that's good.
Well, the funny thing is the doctor said you won't die of it. You'll die of old age before you die of cancer. And we said that could have been 25 years ago.
And the only other issue is a very irritating one, a visual one. I have macular degeneration, which means I only see kind of blurred images anymore. But that doesn't stop me from watching movies all day long, every day. My daily routine is to wake up, get up, shower, have breakfast, and then sit right in front of a big television screen with hundreds of DVDs around me, or Turner Classic Movies. And that's me for the day, every single day. I am in DVD heaven.
Classic movies. It's interesting to watch it with David because literally almost every movie he has personal connections to. He worked with or knew or was friends with or encountered somehow somebody, a director or actor, in almost every movie on there. In fact, once they were doing a James Whale, the director of Frankenstein. They had 3 movies from the early 30s in a row. And David was like, I was keeping track. I said, how many people nowadays can say that they knew at least 10 people in these movies from the early 30s?
No, that I mean, if there's hardly, no, exactly. And to have that type of connection and to be able to relate and have those memories and the history, I mean, that's just, that goes beyond inspirational, and just to be able to hear you say that, David, and to share that information, I mean, that is a true testament of history, living history.
Yeah. Let's hear something here. Who? Ernest Thesiger, Una O'Connor, also Lanchester. Who did you know?
From these
from the James Whale movies.
David. Well, he had lunch with Boris Karloff. Doris Lloyd was in what's the title of that? Waterloo Bridge.
Yes,
she was your great friend.
Yes,
that was even before Frankenstein. Michael Mark was the man who carried his dead daughter. And he worked with her in Return of the Fly with him. Return of the Fly.
He was in Return of the Fly with me, and I said, "You're the man who carried your dead daughter." I said, "Oh, sir," he said, "thank you for remembering me." We all like to be remembered,
The daughter with the flower that gets thrown into the water.
It.
Right? Yeah, right. Wow. That's something. Yeah, I love those movies. I grew up on those.
Yeah, there's a
bunch in the 70s. Yeah,
they're like almost at the time 90-something years old, and he had personal connections to. I think I got close to 10 people he had at least encountered on these old early 30s movies, and I can't think of all now, but.
It's interesting too, because when I was saying earlier, I was at rehab, and I was talking to the 2 ladies that were actually, conducting the rehab while I was there and everything. And I was saying they know about the show and everything. And I was, talking about you, David, being on. And the one woman, she was probably like in her early 20s. So she really wasn't familiar with the movies that we were talking about. But then the other lady that was, helping me out and everything, she had a recollection of the different movies that you were in and everything. So it was, making that connection, and it was really nice. And, because these are treasured films and treasured television shows. I mean, it is truly like the golden age of Hollywood. And as Jonathan was saying, to be able to say that you knew so many of those folks, and you know what, they knew you. You were a part of that too. There's the flip side of it. I mean, the fact that you had done all these different types of productions, and your memory of everything is so clear and so, concise, which is wonderful when you come on and you share your memories and just talk at those times. It's just wonderful to relive and hear through you and to share with us. So I just want to thank you for that.
Oh, my pleasure. So, Jonathan, what have you been up to?
Recovering from heart surgery. There's a lot of that going around. I'm doing well for those who know me and care. No, life is pretty quiet and undramatic around here. Our good friend Ben Wicki, who some of you may have seen him on David's last birthday on Roy's show here, he came out for David's birthday and almost missed the train in LA traffic, but he got here. And it was quiet. We had Chinese food on David's birthday, I think. And other than that, it's pretty quiet and undramatic right now.
I live in Jonathan's condominium. Some time ago, he said, I think you better move into my place where I can keep an eye on you. So I've really got it made. I do nothing but get up, shower, and sit in front of movies all day, thanks to him.
Actually, the other side of that is I had moved David into a house 5 minutes away, but I started to be afraid of him falling with his vision.
Yeah.
So I said, why don't you, there's going to be an apartment opening up right over the wall from me pretty soon. Why don't you move into my place, into my guest room until that opens up? And then you'll just be like 20 feet away in your own apartment. It never opened up. So I've been living in my guest room for 11 years now. And, it's worked out weirdly. And I like my space and privacy, but I haven't killed him yet, and he hasn't killed me.
We get along very well.
And our cats got along very well.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, I can't separate them now.
I'm sorry that we missed Ben Wicki. I enjoyed when we talked about House of the Seven Gables. You both did voices in the movie, and you did the music.
Mm-hmm. I did.
And I since then I did watch. There you go. I did, and such a great caricature of you.
It is.
Yeah.
The first time I saw it, I almost keeled over, and I said, "You've joined Boris Karloff in having a puppet made after you."
Yeah. Exactly. Like those old, was it the Rankin Bass thing? The Mad Monster Party.
Danny Kaye, Fred Astaire, they all had puppets.
Right.
Yes.
But since then, I've seen, was it Marcel the Shell with his shoes on, which Wicki worked on. I think that House of Seven Gables is a great adaptation, though, for a half hour. It's really a treasure.
Well, I've got to tell you this, because Ben is like one of these modest people like us, so we have to promote each other's stuff because we aren't going to do it ourselves. So in September, Ben's graphic novel he's been working on for 10 years, based on the Salem witch trials, incredibly researched, is coming out in September. Finally, from Top Shelf Books. They just had his comics pages for Alan Moore's last book came out a few months ago. And, Alan Moore, if some of you nerds might recognize that classic legendary comics writer, just
Watchmen.
apparently, Watchmen, V for Vendetta, From Hell, all these things. He's just, I can't tell you what it says, but done a rave review of Ben's graphic novel saying it's the best accounting of the Salem witch trials ever. So you can all go to Barnes and Noble is where I've seen it, and pre-order Ben's wonderful book because he's about to become really well known in a way that I think he doesn't expect.
That's really cool. In fact, Don Bethman, that's out there, I know he works at Barnes and Noble. So that's great to put that out there. And I don't know if Ben would like to come on the show maybe sometime in September, but we would love to have him on to talk about that too. So you can pass the word on to him as well, and just to share. That would be wonderful.
I would like to ask, because since you did have that voice role in that, David, what's the difference between working as a voice actor? Because you also did that in several things, but most notably 101 Dalmatians. How does that differ than being there on film? Is there any difference in how you approach the role?
Yes, you put more of yourself into it because it's only your voice. I don't mean by that you just walk through an acting role. No, you give it what you've got for that too. But when it comes only to voice, you always have to remember, working for Disney or anybody, it's the voice only. So you have to pour everything you can into every word you say when you record just the voice.
And go ahead.
I would say that actually brought up an interesting thing where this became clear when David first recorded the lines for The House of the Seven Gables. We went to CalArts in LA where Ben was, and went into their fancy studio, and he had a microphone and he ran through all the lines. And then we heard them back. Ben sent them with sort of the animatics, it's called, sketchy, scribbly drawings along with them. And David wasn't happy with it. And it was too low key.
Yeah.
Because he was sort of delivering the lines in a low key way that an actor would. And then we realized to match animation, it has to be a little more stylized and heightened. So then we sat here in my office with a microphone and redid a bunch of the lines.
Yeah.
And sort of, you're bringing the inflection up and more down and more up, because it just needs to match, almost like a caricatured way of talking to match the caricatured look.
Yeah.
Because if you do the quiet, naturalistic delivery for animation, it's kind of dead. And actually, I think you see that in a lot of modern animated movies, as they get a big star to do the voice, but they're just doing their minimalistic acting, and you go, that's kind of dull. So luckily, what we recorded here matched very well sound quality with what Ben did at CalArts, so he could pick and choose from the two sessions. But that was an interesting thing to see, is what sounded good in the studio when matched with sort of animation was just seemed out of sync a little bit in terms of the tone of it.
It's also fun that the Disney animators managed to capture something of David in the character he played in the Dalmatians.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Sergeant Tibbs, yeah.
I was so thrilled. I was working with Woody Reitherman.
Wooly Reitherman.
One of the original 9 old men who started the studio with Walt. I didn't realize that first day, but he led me into a room full of storyboards, explained all of the action involving Sergeant Tibbs. And then somebody said to me, he was one of the 9 old men. And I was just in awe of him every time we did a session. I can't remember how many sessions on that, but always with J. Pat O'Malley, who played the sheepdog. And he was one of the funniest actors I'd ever worked with. I loved him. Going to the studio to do those recordings was total joy for me. A dream come true. I'm working for Disney.
I know, when you think about the scope of that, and it just had to, the way it resonated with you. And I mean, that's really just, it's such an achievement in itself too.
And now, did you say that you actually got to meet Disney, or you saw Disney on the set?
When we did that, we were told before we started the recording sessions, no, you won't meet Walt. Walt sits in his office with huge loudspeakers on either way and listens to all the voices. He doesn't like to meet the actual performers, which is how he passed on Deanna Durbin. She came in and sang and read for Snow White, but he didn't see her, didn't like the sound of her voice, so he said, no, she won't do it. So no, we didn't. But I did a live action film for Disney called 10 Who Dared. Excuse me.
Brian Keith. Yeah.
With Brian Keith.
There are stories about him that we won't do here.
Yeah, true.
That's too bad.
A fine actor. And so we were on location in Moab, Utah for 2 weeks. And Disney's idea was to just simply make it a TV movie. When he saw the rushes of the scenery in Moab, he called William Bodine, the 80-something-year-old director, and said, no, it's got to be a feature film. I want people to see this in a theater. So we were in Moab for weeks and weeks and weeks. And when we were on our way back, they said, well, you'll all get to meet Walt. I can't tell you. It's like meeting God. You know, really, I'm serious. So on that first morning, there were 10 who dared. There were 10 of us assembled in the studio. And a man talking to the technician said, that's Walt over there. So I said, Mr. Disney? He said, nah, around here, everybody calls me Walt. Well, he came on the set every day. Damned if I could call him Walt. I couldn't do it. I called him Mr. Disney every day. The kindest, gentlest, sweetest head of a studio that I've ever met.
Yeah, David has said that he didn't come sweeping in with his entourage or anything.
No.
He just sort of edged in around and stood in the background.
He looked like one of the technicians. Yeah.
That says a lot about him as a person, though, that he was so down to earth and he really just wanted to be like, you know, like one of the people that were there.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I probably offended him at the end. We had a screening of 10 Who Dared. I was there with my agent. We hadn't seen the film, so it ran on in the screening room. And I wasn't comfortable with the role I was given to play. I felt it belonged more to Richard Burton's kind of oratorial way of delivery than mine, but everybody else seemed okay with it. So the scene came on and I got lower and lower in my seat. Now, Walt had arranged a dinner after the screening. And I said to my agent, I'm going home. I'm so embarrassed and I'm so humiliated. You can't do that. He's sitting 4 rows behind us. I'm ashamed to say that I did. I got up and crept past Walt Disney and didn't stay for the dinner. Now, no one's ever told me it was bad except me. I think I was bad. So there.
Yeah, the rest of us watched 10 Who Dared and say, you're the most interesting person in it.
It needed Richard Burton.
No, it didn't. He did fine.
All right.
You're your hardest critic, and you shouldn't be, because I mean you're so well respected and enjoyed and loved. I want to share some other comments that are coming through just to let you know. Let's see. Alan Bailey's out there. He's saying, happy belated birthday. Remember, David, age is just a number. Wish you many, many, many more birthdays.
Oh, thank you.
And Shari's out there. My wife, Shari, she's saying, hello, happy belated birthday to David.
Hello, Shari.
Great to see you again. And Mark is out there. He's saying happy belated birthday. And that's Michelle's son.
Oh, okay.
And Sue said, David, I will keep you in my prayers. And that's in regards to what you were talking about earlier. And Dave Rash is saying David is living the good life.
Oh, yes, indeed, Dave.
And Sue is saying, question, what's your latest favorite movie, David?
Do you mean Sue like
Yes.
a brand new movie, like something that's just come out, do you think? or like one that he's just
yeah, clarify that too.
Yeah.
Well, my all-time favorite movie was on Turner Classic Movies this morning, and it was called Help.
Well, first I'll clarify that David has a big handful of all-time favorite movies. So it falls within a group. But it was, you like...
Saratoga Trunk. Have either of you ever seen that?
I have not.
A magnificent film.
Gary Cooper, Ingrid Bergman. And so he's,
wow.
I've got to get up early and see this.
Directed by Sam Wood. And David Bergman had worked with Gary Cooper the year before in another huge hit for them called, which I forget now. But two great hits in a row. So this morning, oh God, to see that film. Do yourselves a favor. Find it, rent it. You will love it. It's a classic. So yes, I would say right now, today, my favorite movie is Saratoga Trunk.
But tomorrow it'll be another one.
Yeah.
And okay, to tie this into everything that David has a connection to, you passed Gary Cooper on a back lot once.
Oh yes, yeah.
Once.
Yeah. Between the sound stages. He was making a naval picture, and I thought, that looks like a sailor. Oh my God, it's Gary Cooper! And I practically did that as he walked past me. Hi, he said hi. So
wow,
that was my meeting with Gary Cooper.
If Sue, if you meant any recent movies, we don't really keep up with modern movies.
No.
Oh, repeat the name of the movie David's recommending. Saratoga Trunk.
Trunk.
It's about trains, I think.
Yes, a trunk line. Not things you put clothes in, a railway, yeah.
So we don't watch current movies really because a lot of them are so dark, not just in tone, but just like photographically dark. David can't see a thing. And how many people have this problem where you can't understand anything the actors are saying these days because the music and background sounds are too loud and then they're all so quiet.
Absolutely.
So David can't hear a thing in modern movies.
You know, there's an anecdote about Sam Wood, the director, because he directed, I think, Day at the Races with the Marx Brothers.
Oh, yes, yes.
And, you know, he and Groucho got into it, and he was exasperated at one point. He said about Groucho, he says, it's no use. I can't make an actor out of stone. And Groucho shot back, we're a director out of wood.
Oh, my God. Funny.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
One of my favorite films by him is King's Row. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
He loves that. That was his all-time favorite movie last week.
Where's the rest of me? Oh, yes. Oh.
With Ronald Reagan, right.
Oh, what a wonderful, wonderful film.
And the magnificent score by Eric Wolfgang Korngold. Yeah.
Yes.
One of my favorite composer heroes. David, you've encountered Ronald Reagan a time or two?
Oh.
At the barber.
Yeah.
What was I was doing? Well, I got to the Beverly Hills barber shop, and sometimes they would say, "Oh, the governor's coming in," and in would come Ronald Reagan.
Oh my
And
goodness!
fortunately, he had his cut by my barber, so I got to talk to him for a little bit. He said, "Hey, you're working at my old studio," and I said, "Yes, I know, sir. I know." I couldn't call him Ronnie.
And we can probably tell the secret now is Ronald Reagan always boasted about he never needed to dye his hair. And David said his barber said he's in there getting it dyed right now.
He got it dyed regularly. Very, very likable to talk to him. You think, what a charming fella, which indeed he was.
That's so cool.
Jump back to Sue here because she had asked, have you ever heard the silent movie piano performance by John Kiley? He's a pianist who plays accompaniment to silent movies. He did in the 80s and 90s. We don't know him. We did see some pianists play with Uncle Tom's Cabin, a re-showing of that silent movie played live. I don't know who that was, though. Somebody says, do you like Bogey?
Oh, Deborah's asking, if you like Bogey.
Humphrey Bogart.
Humphrey Bogart.
Oh, of course. Never met him, but marvelous actor. It took him a while to get going, but boy, once he got going, pow, yeah.
Oh, another King's Row connection. Sort of like Gary Cooper, you passed Claude Rains once and you practically got down on your hands and knees.
Oh, Claude Rains, yes, I would genuflect in front of Claude. Superb actor. And you know, he was a Cockney, he talked like that, really. And that's how he began. You would never know that by hearing these culture tones coming from called
Yeah.
superb actor. Superb.
There's another James Whale actor. He was the Invisible Man.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And, you know, we all still watch him in Casablanca, you know.
Yes, of course, of course.
Yeah.
In
He's great.
anything, in anything.
Yeah.
Neil's
The
saying,
Treasure of the Sierra Madre. Oh, what a film.
Oh, you're talking about Bogart, though. Yeah, not
Bogart.
Claude Rains. Yeah.
Claude Rains.
No, but,
Yeah.
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 You both seen The Treasure of Sierra Madre.
That was his
Yeah.
all-time favorite movie 2 weeks ago.
Alfonso Bedoya. Oh, I don't want your stinking rifle. What a marvelous actor that guy was. Marvelous actor.
It's Fred C.
no.
Dobbs. Yeah.
They don't make them like that anymore.
Oh,
they
look,
don't. Aw.
look who's here.
A kitty got up with Rock.
Oh,
Is that it?
That's Pip. Yeah.
Aw,
He's back.
Pip
Yeah.
is back.
Yeah. So it's his second appearance in 5 years.
The cats are just drawn to David.
oh, sure. Sergeant Tibbs, yeah.
Yeah. He's a fan.
Neil said, I am a big fan of the Universal Classic monster movies. I was lucky enough to meet the legendary writer and author Kurt Siodmak, who wrote the original screenplay for the films The Wolfman and Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman.
Yes, indeed. He was lucky. That must have been a privilege, yes.
Let's see, what are David's connections with those? In The Wolfman, Doris Lloyd plays the angry mother. Let's see, who else is... You did your first audition with Bela Lugosi.
Yes, I did. Yes.
Let's hear about that.
Yeah.
That was very strange. I just arrived in Hollywood. I didn't have an agent, but I went to meet one, and he said, "Oh, okay, kid, go over to the old Charlie Chaplin studios, they were called then. They're shooting a Lugosi film, so come back and tell me how that went." So I went in, and there was this legendary man, but kind of out of it. He was sitting waiting for direction. I was introduced to him. It was a prison cell set, and we had to play a scene together, which we did. He did it very slowly and hesitantly. But I thought, well, here I am. I've hardly got off the plane, and I'm sitting acting with a Hollywood legend. So anyway, nothing came of it. I don't know. Oh, it's called I think it was.
Well, you didn't know this until recently. We figured it out. Yeah, we made a connection. Timeline-wise, I think Bela Lugosi died like 8 months after that.
Yes.
So we said, what were they filming around then? And we looked, and putting the pieces together, we're pretty sure it was a movie called The Black Sleep.
That's right. That's right.
Basil Rathbone, David Carradine, Lon Chaney Jr. Bela Lugosi played a mute character.
That's
but there was a jail cell at the beginning, and we thought, okay, that could be the set you were in with him.
Yeah.
And it's in England, and they're at the beginning and end, they're like British jailers and policemen. So we thought maybe they were trying him for a jailer coming in, or a policeman at the end, or something like that.
But they didn't anyway.
So we could have met Basil Rathbone several years earlier than you did.
Yeah. Oh God, I loved Basil Rathbone. I was terrified of working with him. You know, what was the first one?
Tales of Terror.
Tales of Terror, and then a few years later, I played his son in 2 episodes of Dr. Kildare at NBC at MGM. And I thought, oh God, he'll be terribly haughty, grand. He was the funniest, dearest man I have ever met. He was so sweet and charming and funny, and I just loved him. Then I could pinch myself, say, I'm working with Basil Rathbone. Oh my God, yeah.
Because he was a nerdy fan, just like we all are.
Yeah. And the stories he told of working with Norma Shearer and Garbo, I mean, he had big stories to tell. Yeah.
Did he give you any advice or anything? Because he so often played a villain, you know, in the movies. And so did, and you always seem to play often play the bad guy or the antagonist or the jealous guy.
Yeah.
Did he say anything as far as?
No, but I by observation, just watching him, you know, I got vibes. But no, he didn't.
Well, you said that on Tales of Terror, you would be exhausted by it at the end of the day, but his energy level would be just exactly the same as it was in the morning.
It never let up. That man had amazing energy.
And also just professionalism.
Yeah.
Not slacking off. Anything.
How was it to work? Did you work with Peter Lorre then, David?
No, but we were standing outside of set to have all our pictures taken for Tales of Terror. And Vincent was standing behind me, tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Have you met Peter Lorre?" So I turned, and there was Peter Lorre. And so we shook hands. He said, "Hey, pleased to meet you." And that was it. That was it. My only encounter with Peter Lorre.
Very nice. Deborah said that she loves listening to the both of you speak about everything. And then she wrote King's Row, a tearjerker.
Oh, yes. Oh, God, yes.
Roller coaster. Yeah.
was a great director. Yes.
Yeah.
And Pam is joining us, and she's saying happy belated birthday to you too, David.
Thank you, Pam.
So why do you think it is that you so often got cast in those parts? You know, where you would play the jealous rival or the villain, or you know, because you're obviously not like that if somebody talks to you. You're an actor, but why do you did you just audition for those parts? So they said this is the guy we want to play the.
No, I mean usually just casting them, and I always thought, what do they see in me that I don't see? That I'm a real louse. But apparently, I played louses convincingly, so I suppose that's why I got them so often. Well, also with a British accent, I could become very haughty, you know. Rather grand.
Actually, I think all that came together in one key role, and I bet you'll even bring up the picture of it, Roy. Return of the Fly. I think that was the key, because first, before that, David was stuck playing, you call them British twits, basically, or people saying jolly good, or things like, or the hero's best friend.
Boring.
Yeah. So Return of the Fly was the key, I think, where David started out as that, as the hero's best friend, jolly good old boy, Ripho, and all that. But then the character flipped and became evil halfway through. So it showed that was the transition that went from you being what you were being stereotyped as to something else. And I think in the past you've said, even for 10 Who Dared, one reason they wanted you was they had seen Return of the Fly. They said, oh, he has a darker side. Yeah. So then it sort of took off from Return of the Fly that he could do dark side or ambiguous characters.
Yeah.
Because that shows your range too. And to your point, when you're playing a character that's more of the the antagonist, it's more those roles tend to be more fun too, because you get to be more demonstrative, and you can just really just be you're the heavy, and you really tend to stand out more.
More to dig into the. Yes, you're right with parts like that. Yes.
When you play those roles, do you feel like you do you feel like you're the villain when you're playing it, or you try to play it like to find more of a human?
I do. I wasn't a method actor.
You weren't a method actor, so you didn't think, oh, I'm not really evil. I just behave like evilly.
Yeah, as evilly as I could. Yeah. And the director could always say, "More, please," or less, or something. Yeah.
Well, this goes back to what made David want to be an actor in the first place, was seeing his hero Laird Cregar in The Lodger playing Jack the Ripper, and David was like, "I want to be that. I want to do that." So it's like, often the people playing villains are the nicest people in real life, like Peter Cushing or Boris Karloff.
You know of Laird Cregar, don't you?
Yeah, well, I have a film music show, and it's on Friday nights, and tonight I'm playing music from Hangover Square.
Oh, God!
On the show, so
what a marvelous actor.
He's another actor who often played villains. Yeah,
a very unhappy man. He was a great friend of Doris Lloyd, whom he murdered in the lodger. And he and his companion would go out to Doris's Sunday lunches. And one day, the companion got a little tipsy and started calling their Krieger bad names, which was just heartbreaking for him. So he was not a happy man. And I think also you probably read he wanted to be thin, which is why they say he died. But he was a great actor, great actor.
We just watched Hangover Square with Ben Wicki when he was here. He's like,
Oh, okay.
I've never seen that one. So he said, oh, yeah.
Well, that's the one he crashed dieted for, I think.
Yes,
Right,
that's right.
right.
That's right.
He was only 31 or something when he
Yes,
died.
that's right.
Very young. Very young.
Oh,
Born
wow.
in Philadelphia, too, Roy.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's lovely.
Often played quite older than he was, I think.
Yeah, he played Henry Morgan in The Black Swan. With,
That's right. Wasn't he great? Wasn't he?
Tyrone Power. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Pirate movie. Yeah.
yes. I think all in all, he was my favorite actor. I identified with him.
Dave commented, he said, David did comedy as well. Who remembers David Frankham in the Beverly Hillbillies? David was a lieutenant on a U.S. naval ship launching bombs at random in the Pacific Ocean.
I love doing comedy. I didn't think as a Brit originally, I was just too posh to be funny. But somehow the word got around that I could be funny. So I treasure the 2 Gomer Piles that I did. I love doing Gomer Piles.
I think you did 4 Gomer Piles and 2 Beverly Hillbillies.
Oh, the Beverly Hillbillies.
So,
Irene Ryan. Oh, God.
Wow.
The comedy. Oh, Jack Benny. Terrifying man to work for because you had to get every pause just right. And I had a lovely scene with Jack Benny in a shoe shop.
you were the person taking his information to give him a passport. It was called Jack Gets Passport, and we've never seen it, and we don't know if it's been preserved or not. So if anybody knows about that, Jack Gets Passport, if you know if it's on anything, let us know.
So there had to be pauses. I had to ask his age, and he would lie, of course, so the audience at home could laugh. And if I once said it, he said, "You're saying that too fast, kid. Don't spoil my line." But I liked him. He was a wonderfully funny man. Yeah. But I love comedy. I loved it. I wish I could have done more, because there wasn't enough.
And he was good at it too. When you see him in these things, you go, wow, he was actually doing some good physical comedy there and sort of matching the other people.
I'm looking forward to going back and checking those Gomer Pyle episodes out, as well as the Beverly Hillbillies. I used to love that show back in the day.
And another interesting thing about that I discovered when we watched them is nowadays, if you're on a TV series, you can't be cast again on it. Like I knew somebody who was a waitress once on Breaking Bad.
Mm-hmm.
So she couldn't even audition for even the sequel series, Better Call Saul, because within that world and continuity, she is already a waitress. They didn't have that back then because in one episode, David played like a dorky private on Golden Pile. And the week later, he was an officer chewing out Sergeant Carter. They aired a week apart, and he was in both episodes.
You could do what, Jonathan? That's so true, though, because when even watching episodic television, and it's almost like there was a repertoire of actors that would go to different shows and character actors or guest actors, and to your point, they would recycle, but to be seen in 1 week and then the following week, I mean, so closely like that today, to your point. But again, I'm kind of like, the both of you with that. I really don't watch too much television now, or even the films. It's like if there's maybe a special moment, or if there's somebody that we're aware of that might be in a movie or maybe in a television show. But other than that, I kind of just personally steer away from that. And you can ask me anything about, for the most part, about something that's from the 60s, 70s, or 80s, and I'll be in tune to it. But if you ask me what's going on today in present day, it's like I'm clueless.
I would be too.
Go ahead, Ross.
One thing related to what you often talk about here, I saw the pictures of Space 1999 that you put up, and they weren't on that yet, but David interviewed all the cast of Mission Impossible, so there were several tie-overs. So for Mission Impossible, because this is a story I don't think David's talked about, is for a year or two he was the Hollywood correspondent for a German magazine. And of course
Constanza magazine.
David speaks no German at all. but somehow he got the job being their Hollywood correspondent, and part of that you interviewed Martin Landau, Barbara Bain.
Wow.
All of them, yes.
Peter, I can't think of his
yeah.
Oh, Peter Lupus from Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Peter Graves? Or
Peter Graves, too.
Graves.
Peter Graves.
And the black man, I can't.
Oh, Greg Morris.
Greg Morris. You said they were all very nice people.
Oh, yes. So nice. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So David has met all of them as well, Roy.
Oh, that's pretty. I used, when it comes to Mission Impossible, especially the earlier episodes, I mean, Martin Landau and Barbara Bain were in the first 3 seasons. And then Leonard Nimoy was in the 4th and the 5th season, right after he did Star Trek. So there's that connection. But now, were these recorded interviews, or were they printed? Because that would be wonderful to be able to.
I had a tape recorder, recorded them, then transcribed it and sent it on to Germany, where it was published in Constanza magazine.
And somebody translated them into German. So they are out there in German magazines, if you can get on eBay and look for Constanza magazine. And David doesn't even get credit because it turned out the publisher in Germany was stealing credit for it, putting his own name on it. Somebody I see says, I think I found Jack Gets Passport on YouTube, who was Mel Blanc in it.
Oh,
you don't remember him there. The photo with you was Richard Deacon.
Yes.
Maybe they've done a couple versions over the years.
Yeah.
Different sketches.
I was able to find Ernie Kovacs the last time, your appearance on YouTube. I found one today that I hadn't even known that you had done. And it was so late that I wasn't able to watch it, but I'm looking forward to doing it after the show. You were on the Shirley Temple storybook series in a Jules Verne adaptation, which I don't even know the story. It was the Terrible Clockman.
That's the Terrible Clockman. That's right.
Wow.
And you worked with Sam Jaffe on it.
Oh, yes, the wonderful Sam Jaffe. Yes. And Eric Portman, a brilliant British actor. Yeah.
So they are on YouTube, apparently, and they're in color. So it's I'm very much looking forward. I didn't even know she had done these. Shirley Temple was about, I guess, in her early 30s when she did these, and it's kind of a precursor to the Shelley Duvall fairy tale theater kind of famous actors in well-known stories. So
it was interesting working with Shirley Temple, having worked with Margaret O'Brien earlier on live TV. Margaret O'Brien was totally in awe of her mother. She would do her scene and go and sit by her mother's side. Shirley was just open house. She stopped rehearsing at 4:00 every day when the kids came home from school. So we had a tea break for half an hour while Shirley visited with her children and her husband. She was just a delight, absolutely natural delight. Yeah.
Wow.
Now, these were filmed, right? They weren't live.
They were taped.
They were
taped.
Not live on tape, meaning not broadcast live, but basically done like live TV.
Yeah.
With they could then edit in inserts and things like that. It's really dark and creepy. You go, this is being put out for kids, but this was really weird.
Yeah.
I was just thrilled working with Shirley Temple, as I was with
Sam
Jaffe or any of the greats. She was a brilliant actress, a lovely, lovely lady.
Can you tell us anything about what went on during those? Could you remember working with Jaffe? What went on behind the scenes? Anything?
Oh, it was after. It was at the end of the evening when he was married to Betty somebody. I can't remember her name now. Betty and Sam and I would go over to the cafe next door to the set at NBC, and Sam would sit there and start to talk about the old days, about Ben-Hur, or he would, what's this famous one?
Gunga Din.
Gunga Din.
Gunga Din.
It's so many. God, I love that man. I love that man. Never got tired of listening to his stories. But of course, on set, he was totally professional.
But tell him who wasn't and who almost got fired on Shirley Temple.
Oh, yes. Well, I can't remember his name now.
Gomez Adams.
Oh, John
really?
Aston?
Yeah.
John Aston. Huh?
Wow.
In those days, he wasn't well known, and he was playing a very brief part in The Terrible Clockman. And he kept acting up and cutting up and being funny and interrupting rehearsals. So finally, I can't remember who the director was, but the director said, "You better cool it, man, or you're off the show." So nobody knew who John Aston was then, but he was interrupting rehearsals badly.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe he learned a lesson and
Exactly.
Right.
became professional after that.
Yeah.
Deborah commented, she said, "I loved you in Winter Kill. How was it working with Andy Griffith?"
Oh, God, that was another wonderfully generous man. MGM had closed down. It was kaput. There was no MGM.
This is in the early 70s, folks.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, they were going through their trouble and about to sell off the whole studio and demolish the back lot and all that sort of thing.
And so, what was the director's name? You just
I don't know
mentioned.
the director, but
No, you just mentioned his name.
Andy
Griffith.
Griffith, the star of the TV movie.
Rented studio space at MGM. They had to open the commissary for us. There's this vast movie place was shut down. So he had it opened, and we sat at trestle tables outside the commissary, and it had all this wonderful food. He was so nice. He was so gentle, so pleasant.
He brought in the food himself.
Yes.
For everybody.
Yes.
Because the studio was shut down.
I loved him so much.
Was it Aunt Bee's Pickles? Aunt Bee's Pickles?
No.
That was
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. You loved him so much.
Oh, and he was so protective of me when I was shot to make sure that, I knew how to time it so that I wasn't injured.
Well, one of the funny stories about that is I saw this movie when I was a kid, and David plays a sort of self-righteous priest or something like that, who this mysterious person is going around murdering people in the community. So David gets shot with a shotgun and goes, "Ah." And I saw that when I was a little kid. I didn't know he'd end up living in my house later. But what David remembers is, okay, there's going to be this big shotgun blast and things are going to go flying. So they had everything behind plexiglass and all that to protect them. And he's like, well, what's going to happen to me? Because I don't have any plexiglass.
They were all behind glass except me. And
Wow.
I was going to get the boss in the face. That's show business.
I just want to say hi to Warren. Warren is joining us. He said, "Good evening, fine evening to a group of good, fine gentlemen."
Thank you, Warren. Thank you.
William is out there. He says, he said hello earlier, and then he said, "Now I'm keeping quiet. This is so great." So he's
Wayne. Oh, no. Oh, nice of you. Thank you.
Mark said, "I think I just found Gets a Passport on YouTube." Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Mel Blanc.
Oh.
Michelle said, "Play and see Mark. It couldn't hurt. Mel Blanc could be in it. As I recall, he did a lot of Jack Benny shows."
Yeah.
And let me see here. Sue said, "Jonathan, do you still have those interviews?" She was asking about the English translation, which we just talked about before.
Yeah, there was no, there's no English translation. Some of the other people David interviewed for the German paper.
Jane Fonda.
And he said, well, as long as I have this excuse, I'm going to interview some of the people I want to interview. So you became friends with Barbara Stanwyck through that, and you got to talk to another of his favorites, Rita Hayworth. He talked to and interviewed her.
Barbara Stanwyck became a great friend, true friend, totally down to earth. She had been a star since 1932, and she acted like the lady next door. Nothing grand about her at all.
So this was in 69 or 70-ish.
That's right. Yeah.
And through her, you met Elvis Presley.
Oh, may I tell you the story?
Oh, please.
No, you can't.
She asked me to be her date in Las Vegas. Nancy Sinatra was about to open. Elvis had just closed. Barbara had been invited because she had made a film with him called Roustabout. So she called one day and said, "Hi, kid, would you like to be my date in Las Vegas?" I said, "Yes, I'd love to, for sure." So there we were. We watched Nancy Sinatra, who wasn't very good. And that's what Barbara said about her. She said, "She's not very good, but she's cute." Oh, she had only one hit. "These boots are made for walking." That was her only hit. Anyway, so after that, Elvis had arranged in the parking lot little tables for his guests to sit at. Barbara and I were having dinner, and Elvis appeared, shaking hands with some of the other guests. And then he came over and sat down with her, of course. Barbara said, "You should see your face," because I thought he was just an idiot until I met him.
Because he put all of David's favorite singers out of business.
But the charm of the man, he was so charming, and that lovely Southern accent. So that was really a highlight, just sitting there watching Elvis with my friend Barbara Stanwyck.
Wow.
A classic evening, classic. And he really was a beautifully mannered man, a beautifully mannered man. Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. And and going back to Barbara Stanwyck, I remember you saying wonderful things about her. And then Ralph Sinensky, who was on the show, I remember him talking about her as well too. As far as the way she would treat the crew, and she was very down to earth. She would bring in meals or sandwiches, and just really made sure everybody was taken care of. So it's just wonderful to hear these very positive stories. I mean, I know Barbara Stanwyck's career, her film career is incredible.
Oh yeah.
For me, I remember her on The Big Valley, and that was something.
Of course. Well, the crews in every studio called her Missy. She allowed them to call her Missy. Now, her husband at the time, Robert Taylor, was casting Quo Vadis in Rome, and they were still married, the two of them. And so off he went to Rome. The crews were so loyal to Missy that word got back to Missy that Robert Taylor was fooling around with one of the supporting women in the film.
Oh. Well,
she called him on it. He admitted it. And she said, "Okay, we'll talk about it." She flew to Rome. They talked it out. He promised her he would have nothing more to do romantically with this actress, good actress apparently. So she came home. A week or two later, the phone rang. Another member of the crew said, "He's fooling around again." She said to me, "This time I didn't call." And this is what she said. "I went out and bought the most expensive luggage I could find in Beverly Hills. I packed everything of Robert's in these trunks. And I just left a message on top of all these trunks in the foyer of this beautiful home saying, 'Goodbye.' So when he got home, instead of seeing her, he found all his belongings in these expensive trunks."
Wow.
And that's how their marriage ended, although they made a movie together sometime later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But you didn't fool around with her. If you messed up, she'll mess you up. And she did.
Another of David's favorite film noirs is Clash by Night with Barbara Stanwyck, and tell her what advice she gave to the new actress.
Oh, the new little wiggly actress. Now, Barbara was a strict actress. Your call was your call. You were there when you were told to be there. And this cute little girl would come wiggling in late. Well, the cute little girl was Marilyn Monroe.
Oh, geez.
Before she was famous. So Missy, Barbara said to me, I sat her down one day and I said, "Now, Miss Monroe," never called her Marilyn. "Now, Miss Monroe, the rest of us managed to get here on time. don't you think you could force yourself to do that too? You're holding up production. So after that, Mary came wiggling in on time.
Wow, that's an incredible story. You know, oh, I just wanted to share too. Michelle said that Mark found that the link, and she thinks that you're in it, David. And
About
Mark,
Jack Kenny.
yeah, so he's going to. They're both going to send the link, and it's going to be a YouTube video. So we'll get that out so that everybody can see that.
Oh, wonderful!
Wow.
Wonderful.
So thank you, Mark, and thank you, Michelle, for that.
Yes, indeed. That called Jack Gets Passport. Yes, that's it.
Somebody thinks they found it. So
Oh.
you may be able to see it for the first time
Yes.
in, gosh, since 57, I think, or
Oh,
58
that's right.
or so.
That's right.
And I want to say hi to Dennis Chevalier. He's joining us from Canada. Welcome, Dennis.
Hi, Dennis.
But this has been wonderful. Every time you're on, David, it's always better and better.
That's because of you and you.
I do.
Go ahead, Ross.
No, I do want to mention if anybody is out there that didn't see your previous visits, I mean, they are archived. We do have them out there. Where
Good.
people can look them up and hear you talk about Vincent Price and some of the other great actors that you worked with. We're not repeating necessarily some of the stories this time.
Some of them were great, famous people, but I didn't work with them. Elizabeth Taylor became a huge, great friend. And I was there that whole time. The poor, tragic Montgomery Clift crashed his car into a telephone pole, leaving her house for dinner during the shooting of Raintree County. And they were going to cancel the film because he was recuperating in Elizabeth's house. I would see him every day, and he would have wired up his mouth because his face crashed into the steering wheel.
Oh, God.
And it was so frustrating to be sitting with us, to me, a great actor, Place in the Sun, anything like that, and not being able to ask him anything because he couldn't talk through these wired up teeth, you see, no. And so one day the phone rang, and I was there, I heard this, and it was the legal department at MGM saying, look, Monty had bad coordination. Wasn't his fault that he steered his car into a telegraph pole. So we're just going to cancel the film. She said into the phone, if you cancel this film, Monty will die. You have got to finish this film. This was this 24-year-old girl telling the entire legal department at MGM to back off. And they did, and they finished the film, which unfortunately isn't what it was going to be. They hoped a huge sequel to Gone with the Wind wasn't quite up to that standard. But anyway, Monty finished the film and went on to have several other good performances.
Yeah. So that's a good sign of, or represents how David was one of these actors who was never a big star, but he was behind the scenes, knowing everybody and meeting everybody. So he's got all these behind the scenes stories,
Right,
of little details and things like that other people don't know. And luckily, some of them are captured in his book.
Yeah, I want to hear more
Yes.
about Brian Keith. Yeah,
Mm.
but the book is you have a picture of it there. Yeah,
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's the if you want to go online to order it too, and I'm actually going to put that into the chat for the publisher, so that folks can look that up. And I was actually going to bring upstairs my copy, but folks, if you want to check that out, I just put the link in there too.
Okay.
And Dave Rash just said, there appears to be exceptional researchers on this show this evening. Does anyone have a copy of the still from Tales of Terror that features David with Vincent Price, Peter Lorre, and Basil Rathbone with tombstones in the background?
We've never seen anything like that. Yeah.
Oh, that's when Peter Lorre introduced himself to me. We were waiting to go on a set for all of us to be photographed against tombstones. I guess we did it, but it's never been shown.
We've never seen any pictures like that.
Never seen. A little eerie to have standing next to a tombstone saying David Frankham. Somebody's clever idea, but too tasteless for words for other people. It's never been published.
Too tasteless for AIP?
AIP, yeah.
No.
Alrighty, I just want to make sure I got everybody's comments, and I think we're good. Ross, do you have any last minute questions that you would like to ask? Or
well, I mean, clearly, I don't want to go on with stuff. I mean, clearly there are things that we could talk about all night.
Yeah. I just want to bring up one last question. Pam is joining us. Pam, welcome. She said, every time I'm surfing through my channels, there is David Frankham on many shows. I'm very pleasantly surprised. What a full body of work.
Thank you.
When I came up at Trader Joe's yesterday, I was there and talking to a fellow behind the counter who used to actually set up David's TVs and stereos and things like that. So I was saying, hi, Bob. You may not remember me, but David, I'm a friend of David Frankham. And he said, oh, how is he? And I said, he just turned 99. And he said, you wouldn't believe how much David shows up on TV when I'm watching him. He said, I just saw him on Alfred Hitchcock Presents with Hume Cronin. And a lady in the count behind us in the line was listening in. And she said, oh, what's his name? And so we are having to say, David was, what you've said is you were the kind of actor, if you watch TV from the late 50s to the early 80s, David was one of those actors that you would go, oh, there's that guy again. I always like seeing him. But you might not ever have the name. But you're on, like, you show up on everything is what they were saying.
Oh, yeah. Good.
Yeah, and of course, just to remind everybody, and I know all our Star Trek fans remember you from In News, There in Truth, No Beauty. All roads lead to Star Trek always.
But Dave Rash says, no, they don't. They go back to the Outer Limits.
And
it's true. It's true.
I love the Outer Limits, yeah.
Since we're plugging some people's stuff, we just got a beautiful deluxe edition of this book here, of the Dave Rash edited of volume 2 of Joseph Stefano's Outer Limits scripts. And it's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Well done. It's so Outer Limits fans, you really need this, especially.
Yeah, Dave Rash is the keeper of the gate. He has so much respect for the Outer Limits and his work with the Stefano family, with Dominic Stefano. It's just it is amazing. So thank you for sharing that.
Good.
And if you get the deluxe one, you'll get a signed page by David too.
Oh, big deal.
Pam is saying, of course, yes, Outer Limits. Last one I saw was on with the bees.
Oh, yeah, the Beat Girl.
Yeah, definitely got to check out the one with David, though. And actually, there's the 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Right.
Nightmare. And then also, of course, Don't Open Till Doomsday.
One with, what was her name? Very difficult actress.
Oh, yeah, Marion Davies.
Miriam Hopkins.
Marion Hopkins.
Marion Hopkins, I'm sorry.
Who arrived in the middle of shooting her episode. She said, well, hello, everybody. I'm here. Now, I'll be at the hotel for the rewrite. Nobody had the nerve to say to her, this is television, honey. There are no rewrites. But she was still Miriam Hopkins. You had to admire her. I didn't have a scene with her, but I was thrilled to meet her. A legend.
That's so funny. What a presence she must have been, though, doing that.
Oh, yes. Oh.
But David and Jonathan, I want to thank you for being on tonight. And and of course, what I wanted to do with everybody is to take a glass and to raise it to you, David, and to say happy belated 99th birthday and God bless.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It was worth waiting for it, Roy. Worth waiting. waiting for.
He held on this long just to be on this show, Roy.
Well, like I said, I'm so sorry. I was even contemplating on that Sunday, because it would have been 3 days before my surgery. I was actually thinking about broadcasting live from there, from the hospital, because I wanted to do it possibly on your birthday. But I was kind of feeling a little under. So, but I
bet you were.
And you had other priorities to think about it.
Yes.
So that's fine.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
But definitely looking forward to next year's, though. That's going to be amazing.
Or maybe get together for my 100th.
Absolutely.
All right.
As long as we'd like to welcome you on, and we'll do it, even though it'll probably be on, I think it'll be on a Monday instead of a Sunday, if you're okay and with coming on, and we can be on as long as you like, and definitely do a 100 year celebration.
Ross, will you be there too?
Me? I'll jump out of the cake.
Maybe we can be on your show and talk about film music sometime, Ross.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, we're talking about Korngold.
Yeah. All right.
This has been wonderful. Thank you. Thank you both so much.
Thanks,
Oh,
everyone.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And as always, David and Jonathan, I just want to say, again, thank you so much, and look forward to the next time.
All right.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Take care.
Take care.
Take care. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.